If you're in the market for a compact luxury SUV that feels and looks like a Bentley, look no further than a Genesis GV70. When the company introduced this nameplate to the States back in 2021, it instantly became the company's best-selling model, accounting for over 35% of their total sales. Well, for 2026, it's time for the GV70 to get its first round of updates, and as you can see, they are pretty minor. The exterior gets a refreshed look on the front end, as well as the wheels, while the interior gets a brand new infotainment system with a massive 27-inch curved OLED display. So today we're actually out here in Houston, Texas, because we're finally able to drive the new GV70 in person. And the big question I want answered, has Genesis managed to make enough changes to their bread and butter vehicle to keep luxury buyers flocking into showrooms? Stay tuned to find out. Now, before we start talking about the minor exterior styling changes, let me go ahead and remind you guys what's powering this vehicle underneath the hood. Now, here in America, Genesis continues to offer a choice of two different gas-powered engines. There's also a fully electric model, which we'll cover in a separate video. However, for this drive, Genesis only has the top engine, which is the company's signature 3.5-liter gasoline direct injection twin turbocharged V6. The power output figures here are unchanged. It still makes 375 horsepower, which is a pretty healthy amount, and 391 foot-pounds of torque. It all goes out through an 8-speed automatic transmission. That's a Genesis design transmission. And all GV70s come standard with the company's H-Track all-wheel drive system. The V6, however, adds a limited slip electronic rear differential to get better traction when you guys are hustling this vehicle around your favorite back road. Now, fuel economy, this is where the GV70 has always lagged behind the competition, and they still continue to do so. This model is rated at 18 in the city, 25 on the highway, about 21 combined. If you guys require better gas mileage, there is a base 4-cylinder, which Genesis says is the most powerful standard engine with 300 horsepower from a 2.5-liter turbo 4. That model, however, is only rated to get up to 22 in the city, 28 on the highway. If you guys are keeping score, BMW's X3, the new version, can get well over 30 mpg on the 6-cylinder model. So this is where Genesis has some work to do. The company doesn't quote a 0 to 60 time. We got just under 5 seconds in our last test of the pre-refresh model. And this vehicle is rated to tow up to 3,500 pounds. And as this car sits, it weighs in at around 4,500 pounds. So it is not the heaviest vehicle, but it's also not the lightest car you're going to find in this segment. But let's go ahead and close up the hood here and talk about the freshened exterior styling. Now, first of all, I mentioned this car exudes Bentley vibes, and that continues for 2026. You can see the big Genesis Crest grille here is bold. It has a new G-Matrix texture on the inside, where it has kind of like this kind of twin line design for the actual diamonds inside the grille itself. You can see there's a nicely integrated front camera. The Sport also comes with its own unique front fascia with more aggressive air intakes. Some of them are functional, some of them are non-functional. You have this little front splitter here, which tries to look a little bit more like a skid plate. And then you can see the headlights. These are the updated MLA style headlights, so the micro lens LEDs. They have all these individual cube diodes here for the actual low and high beams, which look pretty similar to the new GV80 that I tested and showed you guys before. You have the twin line design, of course, for the daytime running light and the turn signal. No fog lights on the vehicle itself. But overall, in this Mona red exterior color, it certainly is a bold vehicle, and I think Genesis kind of cleaned up the look. It looks a little bit more sophisticated, but also looking pretty aggressive and modern as well. But if you want to follow me over to the side here, let's talk about the updates for the wheels. You can see Genesis continues to offer a 19 or a 21-inch wheel. These are the updated 21-inch wheels that you get on the Sport Prestige version. So you also get this wheel on the 4-cylinder. It's riding on a 255/40 R21-inch tire. The brakes are 14.2 inches in diameter in the front, 13.5 in the back. You can see the V6 models get a black painted monoblock caliper. Genesis also says that they've updated the adaptive suspension, which is standard on the 6-cylinder model. They've retuned it, so we'll talk about that when we go into the ride and handling characteristics. You have around 7.3 inches of ground clearance, and I really appreciate the full paint finish that Genesis has there. A lot of brands are putting too much of that unpainted cladding to give it that rugged look, which, by the way, this vehicle has around 7.3 inches of ground clearance. So there is a new terrain mode in the drive mode system, but you're not going to really take a vehicle like this off-roading, especially with these big wheels and tires. You can see, looking at the rest of the profile, this is just a refresh, so dimensionally this car hasn't changed. It's around 113 inch long in the wheelbase. overall length is 185.6. This car is about the same size as a Porsche Macan, which the Macan is one of the sportier driving vehicles in the segment. It's one of Porsche's top sellers, but I very much kind of get the sense that Genesis was targeting the Macan when they were designing this vehicle. I really like the kind of black chrome accents that you get with the sport trim. The mirrors are power folding. You have these aerodynamic roof rails, and that panoramic sunroof is going to be standard if you guys go for the advanced trims and up. So that's kind of a feature that most people I think are going to want. This particular area here has a really unique kind of slope, teardrop slope to the roofline. And that's because some competitors like Mercedes offers like a SUV's design of the GLC or a squared or a coupe version. Genesis kind of tries to go in between to give you style, but also preserve the functionality of the interior. You can see the rear looks pretty much the same. You still have the same elements here that we've seen in the past. It spells out Genesis at the rear. It has the twin line full LED taillights. There is an all-wheel drive badge here. That's how you know you have the 6-cylinder, is that little badge there. And you can see the rear bumper has been redone here. The exhaust tips, which are integrated into the bumper, are now a trapezoidal design as opposed to the oval. I actually think I preferred the oval design. There's also some fake vents over here. I like how there's kind of like a gloss black here with the mono red. It's a really nice color combination. The rear spoiler, they also said they've redone. It's a little bit more aerodynamic. This also has the third brake light, which is kind of like a continuous line, LED light bar going across the rear, which looks pretty distinctive. And then in terms of the cargo area, the hands-free power liftgate's included. And the GV70, because of its longer size compared to some rivals, does have some decent cargo space, but it's definitely not class leading. It's kind of right in the middle. You get just under 29 cubic feet of storage space with the seats up. If you look underneath the floor here, you can see there is a little bit of an underfloor storage area, and it looks like Genesis does include it actually a temporary spare, so that's pretty nice. You don't have to deal with a fix-it-flat kit. If you want to fold down the seats, you can do so by pulling on this little lever here, which actually creates a perfectly flat floor almost. And Genesis says with the seats folded, you get up to 56.8 cubic feet of storage space, which is good. I believe a BMW X3 has a little bit more, but this is around 10 more cubic feet versus the segment's bestseller, the Lexus NX. So on the outside, Genesis made some key improvements that only improved the look. However, the interior is where the company made some big changes that will make this vehicle even nicer on an everyday basis. Before we get inside, however, let me show you guys the key fob. As you can see, this vehicle has adopted the newer Genesis key that they first introduced on the all-electric GV60. It's either white or black. I believe the black key is maybe for the valet key functionality, but as you can see, lots of buttons on the side for lock, unlock, power liftgate, and panic. You also have their smart park feature along with the remote start where you can move the vehicle forward and back. I actually think that I may prefer the older fob because it had higher quality materials, but this definitely looks pretty interesting. You can also use your phone as a key as part of their digital key too. That comes on the Sport Prestige trims only. Now, as you can see, door handles are traditional pull style. Touch that little area there, that will lock the door. The mirrors also will power fold in. To unlock the door, just touch the back of the door handle. That will unlock the door for you. Now, looking at my test car, this is a bold color combination. You can see the Mona red with the Seville red premium Napa leather interior. Red on red is just a little bit too much for me. You can get different colors on the interior for the Sport Prestige model. Genesis offers a black with an orange stitch, an ultramarine blue with an orange stitch, and a vanilla beige with an orange stitch. Sadly, I think the red, would probably for me only look good if you had the white or the gray exterior, but I do love the Napa leather seats with the new cross stitching. It's got really supple leather to it. The padding also, I believe, has been updated because it's not as hard as the pre-refresh model. These seats adjust in 14 different ways for the driver, I believe 10 ways for the passenger, and you also have an ergo motion massage, which is only on this particular seat here. The seats are also heated and ventilated, and you also get a 2-person memory on the driver's side. Now, looking at the rest of the door panel, you can see beautiful real leather with actual stitching on the upper portion here. You have real aluminum trim. They've also updated the ambient lighting. I love this aluminum accented door handle. There's a 16-speaker Bang & Olufsen stereo that replaces the old Lexicon system, which sounds really good. The Lexicon was good. This sounds even better to me, at least, just on my initial test. You can see nice padded leather over here. Window controls are metal accented. They feel really high quality. They look impressive. You have some genuine carbon fiber trim. The carbon fiber is included on the Sport Prestige V6 only. And then down in this lower portion is a soft touch injection molded plastic. You also get alloy sport pedals and a new steering wheel with a flat bottom design. Now, getting inside with around 7.3 inches of ground clearance, you have a pretty easy step in height. As I get in and shut the door has a pretty solid sounding thunk. The rattle that you heard is just the water bottle. Let's go ahead and shut that again. You can hear really solid thunk that adds to that impression of quality. Now, starting the vehicle up, you can see the start-stop button is in the same position. When you start it up, This vehicle is not a hybrid or a mild hybrid, so it's gonna have a traditional starter noise. And as you can see, the biggest change right away is the brand new infotainment system. This is their 27-inch curved OLED display that we first saw on the GV80, of course. And as you can see, it's just a big improvement over the previous version, which had a 12.3-inch display and a 14.5-inch display. This also just looks a lot more modern. As you can see, it also has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It also has over-the-air updates, and Genesis has also added a new feature where you can actually put the CarPlay maps in the instrument panel here, which is great. You can also change the way that looks to give you a more traditional tack and speedo design. And you can also kind of adjust what you want to put in this little area here. By pushing this button, you can kind of adjust that. So again, lots of customization here, but I love the fact that you can put the CarPlay in that screen there, or you can also do it over here. This is just, again, a big improvement where the old model, you had to still connect your phone via a wired connection. Now, the heads-up display, as you can see, is only on the Sport Prestige V6, so this is the only trim to get that. You have some more of that leather across the upper portion of the dash. There's also leather on this lower portion here. I love the way the vent looks with that continuous LED lighting behind it, along with the metallic strip of alloy trim. The dashboard vents have also been redone. They've been repositioned into the lower portion of this little oval, which used to house, like, I believe, the actual climate control function. They've moved the climate control functions down here, which also, as you can see, there are heated and cooled seats, which are still actual capacitive buttons, along with actual knobs for your volume, for your climate control, which this vehicle includes a tri-zone. You have a knob for volume and tuning. So I love how Genesis is including actual knobs as opposed to some competitors which have gone all to the screen. This little area here you can see is all carbon fiber. It's genuine carbon fiber. You have some alloy accents here for the buttons and switches. If I push that button, you can see there's your full 360 camera, which has really excellent quality and resolution. You can also do a full 360 perimeter scan. There is active parallel parking as well. And you can see the graphics. It even matches the color of the car that we have on this particular version. So this is all class-leading stuff, as you'd expect, considering the price point. This little dial here is to control the infotainment system if you don't want to use the actual touchscreen display, if you don't want to get it like dirty, for example. But overall, it's all pretty well and easy to use. I also love how it looks there. You can see the ergo motion massage. You basically have 3 different lengths of sessions, and then you can also change the intensity. But when you push the actual massage button, you can see there's 3 different types of massage. The whole body is my favorite. Again, it's only on the driver's side. Wish the Genesis would have expanded it to the passenger side as well. Now you can see the gear selector is here. It's this little rotating knob, which does feel awfully similar to the knob here. So if you're an owner, you'll probably get used to that, but rotate it to the left, that puts it into reverse with the trajectory, of course, and the parking sensors. To the right goes into drive, push the P button to go into park. They've repositioned the wireless phone charging pad, which used to be here in this little bin that you would slide your phone into. Now it's a better position here where you can easily just place your phone there. You have 2 cup holders here, a nice padded console, as you can see, which offers a pretty decent sized storage. Your 2 USB-Cs are in there. You can see that's the phone from my friend Carbuzz Jared, or Jared over at Carbuzz. And you can see, I really appreciate how there's buttons here where you can control the actual seat positioning, where I don't have to reach over to the side. Like I mentioned earlier, these seats have decent bolstering. The passenger side doesn't move as much as the driver, but it's still, again, pretty comfortable. The cooled function works well, as does the massage on the driver's side. You can see the glove compartment is huge. It's damped and it's a bin style. Offers some good covered storage as well. You have a auto dimming rearview mirror with the frameless design, but no digital camera rearview mirror. This trim is the only trim that also gives you the suede Alcantara on the headliner. Beautiful ambient lighting, along with bright LED map lighting, which I also really appreciate. The little detail from the grille is included there. You can see the sunroof also is panoramic glass. It's a very dark tint as well. This also opens up to vent air if you guys really want some air to come in, which is a nice feature. It has a built-in wind deflector, along with, again, the tint is like seriously the darkest tint I've ever seen. So really appreciate that. So you don't necessarily have to close that sunshade because the tint is really nice. So overall, the interior is pretty similar to the GV80 that I last tested. I like the new flat bottom wheel with the paddle shifters, power tilt telescoping. So feels really nice in your hand. Build quality feels solid. I didn't hear a single squeak and rattle in here. And I think for those of you who are looking for the most luxury oriented interior in the segment, you're going to find a lot to like with this new GV70. But let's go ahead and hop into the back seat. I want to show you guys what that space is like. As you can see, the back seat area offers around 37 inches of legroom, and you can also see this seat, you can basically fold it down to create that flat load floor, as you can see, or if you pull on that, which is kind of hard to do with one hand, you can see it also will flip up and it also has a recline function. Now you can see the leather is the premium Napa leather with that diamond quilted stitching and contrast piping as well. And these seats are also 2-level or 3-level heated, I believe. That's only on this trim. And you also get these manual retractable sunshades, again, only on the V6 Sport Prestige. You can see the leather materials are all carried over, nice and padded here with the carbon fiber, the aluminum trim, even padded down here with the additional storage. And then once you get back here, you can see the legroom space once I recline this seat, which actually lets you recline it a pretty decent amount, because that's, as you can see, with the seat completely upright. This is with it in maximum recline. I think most of you are probably gonna have it in this particular setting here, which gives you a little bit of a recline, but I have to say, this is my driving position at 37 inches of legroom. It's not the most, but it's not the worst. So I can basically get back here and cross my legs and get comfortable. There's good foot space. There is a large hump here for the drive shaft, because remember, this is a rear drive platform. And you can see you have rear seat air vents along with your 3-zone climate. This is the only trim to get the 3-zone climate, and you also have 3-level heated seats. As you can see, they've replaced the USB-A with USB-C ports, and you also have a full 12-volt or 150-watt household outlet there, which is nice. You have 2 storage cubbies here, and then if you fold down the armrest, you can see there's 2 cup holders built in. So overall, as you can see, there's plenty of space here for average size adults. In terms of the headroom, you can see I have a solid maybe 2 to 3 inches of clearance. So the sunroof does take up space, but I love the Alcantara here. It just makes it feel like a much more expensive vehicle. You can see there's the ambient light strip in the door. It's been redone and it looks pretty expensive, but overall the backseat area is usable. Not the most in this segment, but I think for those of you who are looking at like a Lexus NX, this actually has a little bit more backseat space, which is going to be good if you have taller friends or family that you have to put in the backseat. So here we are behind the wheel of the updated 2026 GV70. And as you guys can see, I'm joined by my good friend Jared from CarBuzz. If you guys haven't seen his stuff, you can find it on TikTok, on YouTube, anywhere else, Jared?
Instagram, all that stuff.
Okay. So Jared, we are here in the top version of the GV70, and Genesis was very adamant about explaining how this is their best-selling model. Over 35% of their total sales in America is this car. And we're in the top trim, which is the twin turbo V6 with 375 horsepower, which is kind of a lot of power for the segment, I'd say.
Good. I don't think it's the most in the 6-cylinder realm of these cars.
No, but like, they didn't even quote a 0 to 60 time, but I'm curious to see what we can get. Now, this is the only model that gives you like a Sport Plus mode with like a limited slip rear diff, which includes launch control. Let's just go ahead and quickly launch it and see what we can get here. So we're in Sport Plus, although it didn't actually give me launch there.
Maybe that was launch control, but...
Sounds good though.
Oh, yes.
5.56 seconds there, so
okay,
not bad. I got 4.9 in the last one that I tested almost a year and a half ago.
Yep, so we must not have been in launch control then.
Yeah, so I think what the problem is you actually have to deactivate the stability control entirely.
Okay.
Which you kind of have to, there we go. So we'll see if we can find another road at some point and do a more appropriate launch, because it does let you rev it up a little bit higher. But I have to say, so this is the only model that has the, or not the only, the V6 is the only one that gets the adaptive suspension with the road preview. So it uses the front camera and it senses and tries to see what the road surface looks like to adjust the dampers. This thing actually rides pretty well, wouldn't you say, Jared?
I would say this is one of the most comfortable cars in this class. Like, I think the German cars like the GLC and maybe the X3 are a little firmer, especially their, you know, the AMG and the, you know, the M Sport versions of those cars. This thing rides more Lexus-like, but maybe even a little more controlled because it does have adaptive suspension.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of the surprise, because we are on these big 21-inch wheels and it's got, you know, the firmer suspension tuning, and it, on the highway, this thing just soaked up the bumps nicely. It was nice and quiet. Look at that, the transmission there actually rev matched when this...
Nice blip.
I know, it was a nice little blip that I wasn't really expecting, but remember, this car kind of shares a platform with the G70, if I remember correctly. It's like a rear-wheel drive sports sedan.
Right, and now you can't get rear-wheel drive on a GV70 anymore. I guess most people were buying all-wheel drive anyway, so now it comes standard on all trims.
Yeah, I mean, I think for this particular type of vehicle, people want all-wheel drive. So it does kind of have like a rearward bias, which I appreciate. But I mean, overall, like out on the road, I mean, we're just kind of on a straight road here. This thing glides down the road. It feels very much in the same level as like a BMW or a Mercedes. The interior is also really nice.
I think it's elevated even above those. Here we go. Good acceleration. Whew. It's real throaty. It's almost like, you know, real low, raspy kind of sound.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how much of it they're synthesizing with the sound that it makes, but it's definitely louder in Sport Plus, because we were on the highway earlier, you switched it from like Eco, because I was trying to get the best gas mileage, into Sport Plus. We were like, oh wow, this thing like feels completely different.
And I think that is worth talking about the fuel economy. I know you probably went over it again in your engine segment, but it is not good on this car. Like, that's one area where we're like very disappointed in this car, where like the best it can get, the 6-cylinder one is like what, 24 on the highway, 18 in the city, 20.
Yeah.
Those are V8 numbers. Like, come on.
Right, because I remember back in the day when BMW had the X3M, that was actually better fuel economy than this powertrain.
Right, which is crazy. And even the 6-cylinder X3 is more fuel efficient than the 4-cylinder of this. So if that's your priority, it ain't this car. Like, this isn't it.
Yeah, and like we were driving this thing, I mean, I was driving this thing like a grandma out on the highway earlier, and the best that it did was just over 24.5 mpg, which is okay, but it's terrible when you just had a 4-cylinder X3 and that was doing like 35,
which is like what you get out of like a hybrid
NX,
or a hybrid NX, and that's not, it's a mild hybrid, but Genesis doesn't have mild hybrid, they don't have regular hybrid, they don't even have a PHEV. They're working on it. It's going to get the new Palisades hybrid system most likely, but we don't know when.
Right. Yeah, so that's kind of where Genesis is lagging. They've always been lagging in fuel efficiency, and I really think that if they did eventually do a hybrid of this, they would probably see their sales maybe even double, because this is a great car. I mean, the seats are comfortable. We've got the premium Napa leather. I'm sitting here getting a massage, but Jared gets shafted because only the driver's seat gets a massage function.
Kind of weird.
Right.
And only on a lot of the top trim levels too, which is another thing.
Exactly,
yeah,
yes.
No dip there. You know, the adaptive suspension, they said when you're braking or accelerating, you know, it kind of like preps either the front or the rear axle to kind of get rid of that nose dip. That was really nice. Like, we really didn't pitch or yaw much there.
Yeah, no, I'm going to try another launch here. This time the stability control is off, and let's see what we can get this time. Of course, there it goes.
There we go. Launch control ready. Oh, active.
Shifts a little bit firmer when it is in launch mode.
Yeah, for sure. You feel it kick a lot more.
5.5 seconds there.
It's still not that fast. I would definitely hoping it would be in the 4s.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually on 0.2% increase, so it's really not that bad. Like, we were almost on a level surface, so I'm actually surprised. That's about a half a second slower than the 2024 model that I tested with this same powertrain, which kind of goes in line with the updated GV80. Also, it was a little slower than the pre-refresh models.
Yeah, so it has a lot of power, but I believe that like a X3 M50 will squarely do it in the 4s. Like, it'll definitely do a sub 5. So this is definitely, and this is just pointing out to me, I think the 4-cylinder is the value here with the GV70.
Yeah.
I say you just get like the advanced trim for $55,000. To spend $70,000, which is what this model costs, is a lot of money for that.
It is a lot, and I just don't know if it's worth it. I mean, even the enthusiast in me is like, I like extra power, but honestly, the last 4-cylinder I tested did it in 5.7 seconds. So I'm imagining the new one's probably a little slower, but even if that does it in just under 6, that's plenty fast.
I think it's quick enough. You don't get the sound, but like, how often are you like using the paddle shifters on your like luxury crossover? I think the 4-cylinder, it's a powerful 4-cylinder. They say the most powerful in its class. I guess they're not counting NX plug-in and, you know, Volvo XC60 plug-in, but 300 horsepower is a lot for a 4-cylinder.
It is, and it's the base powertrain, and so they do offer that, you know, bragging right there. You get 300 horsepower for under $50,000 for the base model. So it's definitely, I think, the powertrain that most people are going to get. I would say that, I forgot to ask Genesis, but I would probably say it's probably like a 70% take rate for the 4. I would imagine 80%. It's got to be 70 or 80%.
Yeah. I can't imagine too many people are spending $63,000 to $70,000 to get this V6 engine when it's not the best 6-cylinder in its class.
No, and that's the thing, is Genesis definitely doesn't want you to compare it to like an X3 M50 or an SQ5 or a GLC 43, even though it kind of has, you know, power figures that could fit it there, but it's just not as quick in terms of performance. But you do get the refinement. There is something nice about hearing a 6-cylinder, feeling the smoothness and the refinement of it. So if you guys want a 6-cylinder, at least Genesis still offers it.
I also think if performance is like the number one thing, get the electrified one.
Oh, yes.
Get the all-electric one. That's probably going to be even quicker than this V6 with dual motors over 400 horsepower. Like, that'll be great.
If I remember correctly, that thing has a 483 in boost mode, and I think I got like just over 4 seconds.
Right, so that one is better. And it's going to get a bigger battery for 2026. It's going to get all of the improvements that you saw in this video. It's going to have a NACS port, so you can charge it at Tesla stations without using an adapter, and it is going to have better range than the previous model.
Right.
So that might be the way to go.
Now, with just under 27,000 units sold in America last year, again, this vehicle was Genesis's best-selling model. Basically, it and the larger SUV, the GV80, are two of the brand's best-selling vehicles, which doesn't surprise me. Everyone across the world wants an SUV, and when Genesis first came to the US as a new brand, they only launched with a sedan, but they quickly addressed that in the coming years. So after spending a few hours driving the updated version of the GV70, I have to say, the GV70 was already one of my favorite vehicles in this segment. It has one of the most luxurious interiors. It has, again, that Bentley look that just looks really expressive, but also expensive compared to rivals. It just stands out, and this segment of vehicle continues to get more and more crowded. The powertrain, as you guys saw, delivers 0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds, which is pretty quick, although it is around a half a second slower versus my last test of a 2024 model, so I'll have to wait until I get one back home to test out. Fuel economy still lags behind its competitors, although with that larger gas tank, you can get around 350 miles of range. That's, of course, on premium fuel. So kind of keep that in mind. If you want the best gas mileage, you're going to want to look at the BMW or the Lexus for its hybrid powertrain. And the updates to the interior have definitely improved with that new screen, the new software, finally wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I also noticed the seats are more comfortable in this car. I believe Genesis has added like softer padding because they just felt more comfortable on that longer trip that we were driving this vehicle in compared to the earlier models. The back seat is usable, the trunk is usable. So overall, this is still a solid pick in the segment unless you demand maximum performance or you demand maximum fuel efficiency. So Genesis kind of has a nice middle ground here. Now, if you guys are looking to get your hands on this new version here, they are heading to Genesis dealerships as we speak, and pricing has gone up slightly because basically the base version with all-wheel drive starts at around $47,900. So that's an increase of around $1,600 compared to the old model, which there's some more standard equipment for this vehicle, so I think it's kind of worth it. Most of you, however, are probably going to go up to at least the Select trim, which is around $51,000. The Advance is probably where I'd say is the sweet spot for about 55 grand. It'll include features like the upgraded Bang & Olufsen stereo, the 360 camera, and the panoramic sunroof. If you guys want the V6, however, the V6 has gotten about $5,000 more expensive versus the old model. That's because Genesis deleted the base V6. They now start at the Advanced package, which is around 63. This model here starts at around 70 grand for the Sport Prestige. And it basically includes everything. With destination and the color charge, my test car here is around $72,000. I know 72 grand is a lot. In fact, Genesis is very much still a value-oriented brand, but at the top end, they are now basically as expensive as its European counterparts, although I will say that this has one of the nicest interiors. Again, some of the European brands just offer more in terms of driving dynamics and extra speed from their powertrains, but overall, I think Genesis has done a good job at keeping this model fresh, and for those of you, again, who don't demand maximum efficiency or power, you should definitely put this at the very top of your list. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2026 Genesis GV70. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.